First of all, let's just say b'schut kol tzadikim amitim in our generation, the ones that have passed on, and specifically to get together, Baruch Hashem, to learn the teachings of Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, of Rabbi Nassan of Breslov. It's a tremendous chus to get together to learn such writings. So it should be makusher together with the tzaddik Rabbi Nachman ben Fega. Zachusam yagenu aleinu al kol Yisroel. Amen. Amen. Okay, so over here I photocopied a piece from Likutei Halachas in the Chelek Yeridea Hilchot Giluach Halacha Gimel. That over here Reb Nassan starts speaking about Pesach, and it's based on a teaching of Rabbi Nachman himself, and it can give a tremendous insight into Avodas Hashem where we're holding. Okay, so let's go from Yud Gimel. So it says over here, V'zeh shenikrat hamatzah lechem oni. The reason why matzah is called lechem oni, bread of poverty, ki lechoira kasha. It seems like there's a question here. Ki ita b'kitzvei Arizal. It's brought down the writings of the Ari. Sham matzah hu mochin gedolin mod mod. That really matzah, it says in the writings of the Arizal, has a tremendous power to it. Has a tremendous koach to give wisdom, tremendous intellect. Now, mochin doesn't just mean wisdom. It could mean like an awakening towards Hashem, an awakening from above. It has a tremendous power. So it's very rich in a certain sense, right? It says in the Zohar Kodesh that matzah it's lechem dim himnuta. There's two places. One, it says lechem da asvata, which means bread of healing. That just from eating matzah, there's a certain healing that the neshama repairs itself. But another place, the other place in the Zohar Kadosh, it says that lechem dim emuna. It's a bread of emuna. That there's an ingredient in matzah that we see that it has the power to give emuna. So if that's the case, then why do we call it lechem oni? So it says as follows: Madua nikra lechem oni. So why is it called lechem oni? Reb Nassan says, shehu bechinas heder hadas. He says the reason why it's called lechem oni because there is a lack of something of das, of knowledge, of intellect. Why? Ki ein ani ela min hadas. Because ani, when it says when the term poverty is used, right, in the psukim, it's referring to the biggest state of poverty is if a person in mamish doesn't have knowledge. If a person doesn't have any intellect. If a person chas v'shalom is a fool and he doesn't know his right from his left, then that is the biggest state of impoverishment, right? A person can't really put anything together in his life if he doesn't have any chachma, if he doesn't have any dat, if he can't integrate what's right and what's wrong. That's the most important thing. That's why in Judaism our mental faculty, right? Our brains are the most important thing. That's the place that symbolizes Kodesh HaKadoshim, like it says in Svarim. Ki ein ani ela min hadas. Because anius is referring to anius of das. Ach be'emes. So the question gets very strong. The question is that why do we say the matzah is lechem oni? If oni is referring to das, but on the other hand we know that the Arizal says that this tremendous mochin that we receive when we eat matzah. So how could it be? So there's a stira here. Let's see what Reb Nassan says.
Say somewhere that the aniyim get a special hashgacha to learn Torah or something.
They get a special schar to learn Torah. Yeah. Definitely. Ach be'emes tarvayu itnehu ba. So Reb Nassan says so it must be that the truth is that it's both emes. Both of them exist. Da v'da achasi. Both this one and that one is one. How could that be? Ki machmas otzem gedula sa'or, because of this tremendous, powerful light that every single one of us is going to experience on the night of Seder, on Amir Hashem, the Seder coming up. Gedula sa'or hamelubesh b'matzah shel Pesach, shehi bechinas lechem min hashamayim. right? Like it's the aspect of lechem from the heavens, because of the tremendous light that's included in matzah. Ki ugos shotziu Yisroel miMitzrayim tamu v'hem tam mon, because it's brought down the Gemara in Chazal that the taste, that the flavor of the matzah that it carried when they went into the desert, it had a taste of the mon, which is lechem min hashamayim. You know, shehu lechem min hashamayim bechinas itaruta dilaela kanal, and lechem min hashamayim means that there's an awakening from above. Lechem min hashamayim means that Hashem Yisbarach is waking us up, and He's getting us to turn to Him. So if we know that the matzah, it says in Chazal, had the taste of man, which is an awakening from above, umachmas otzim ha'or shel Pesach, and not only that, but that type of influence from above that's included in the matzah, but also the or of Pesach itself, the light that Pesach itself contains, Shu bechinas matzah, which is the aspect of matzah, machmazeh efshar lasigo klal. Because of this, we can't really fathom it at all. It's too lofty. It's too high. Va'or lo ba milamala, ela kedei lechazek ulachayot et Emuna. He says this light that's coming from above. The only purpose we know that light from above comes to us in our life is to just strengthen our Emuna. Shal yedei sheroin or gadol milamala, from us seeing the tremendous light from above, afal pi she'efshar lasigo klal, even though that we don't understand it, even though that we have no shaykhis to it. This is such an amazing light. Like we were quoting the Zohar and the Arizal, like what's in matzah, it's unbelievable. That it's the highest thing in the world to eat matzah, and that with Pesach itself, which Hashem just took us up. It says that, you know, Pesach is a lashon of skipping, so we skipped all these levels. He took us from the 49th level of impurity, and He shot us up to the highest of all levels. It's like a gift from the heavens. So with all these things, and us sitting on the night of Seder and eating the matzah, like how could we contain all this tremendous light? How could it be? So he says the truth is we can't. But if we can't, then what's the purpose? I mean, we know the purpose of light from above is really just to be mechazik our Emuna. Otherwise, it could maybe even in some places it's like too much light could be destructive. So what's going on? So it says, Shal yidei sheroin or milamala. When we see this light from above, afal pi she'efshar lasigo klal, even though we don't understand it fully, we can't even grasp it at all. Afal pichin al yedei zen nasin chazakim yoter be'emuna. The way it gets transferred into our blood is it goes directly to fill our batteries of Emuna. That's what the Svarim HaKadoshim say. V'alkein nikres hamatzah lechem oni. Therefore, even though as lofty and great as this matzah is, it's called bread of oni, of anius, of poverty. Why poverty? Bechinas ein ani ela min hadas. Ani is referring to knowledge, right? Like Shlomo Melech, like he said, if you could just give me one thing, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'll ask for wisdom, for knowledge. That's the biggest wealth, right? We were saying before. Ki daika achshav machmas otzem haor tzarichim lasalik dasu legamri. Wow. So why is it called bread of poverty? He says because right now, because of this powerful light, you know what's the highest thing to do? Don't try to figure anything out. Just give yourself over to Hashem. That's mamish, and you should know in Chassidus and Breslov especially, that's the highest of all madregas. The greater a person is the greater he realizes the hashgacha of Hashem in his life, the more Emuna he has, and the more he can just give himself over to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right? Not to have any sophistication whatsoever. V'leida she'eno yodea klal. To know that I know nothing. What do I know? Kadosh Baruch Hu, yishtabach shemo. You know, like in Eretz Yisrael, you see all these like Sephardim. It's like simple faith. It's so beautiful. You know what I mean? You can hardly tell if the guy, some guys, you can't even tell from you if they're from so much or not. But then all of a sudden you get into conversation with them, you're like, no, do you have Emuna? They look at you like what are you kidding me? I'll kill you. You're threatening me? No, yishtabach shemo, me, Kadosh Baruch Hu. I met cab drivers, it blew me away. Mamish thought the guy wasn't from, so I'm talking to him. Some guys give me a ride to Meron. So then I'm like, so you have any connection to Reb Shimon Bar Yochai? Forget it, the whole cab ride. He was telling me stories, Nisim, Yishtabach Shemo, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, the tzaddik. You don't understand. He's like, I go. He said he used to work there in Reb Shimon Bar Yochai's by his kever. He used to go Lag BaOmer, and he used to volunteer to clear the where people light candles. It turns into a huge fire. Because people are constantly throwing candles and there's this huge bonfire. So he would be in charge of the fire on Lag BaOmer. You know what I mean? And he would mamish risk his life so that other people shouldn't be in danger. He would and he gave me sacks of money. He said, when you go to Reb Shimon, he says, put this, give this to him, tell him it's from me. Really, it's unbelievable. Like every Jew has this. There's a certain Emuna that's in the heart. It just has to be uncovered. But where does it come from? As soon as you think that you know how things work, like you're the man. You understand all the mysteries of creation and that. As soon as you start to get a little ga'ava, then that's the beginning of downhill. Our great leaders, their greatness was because they were able to face HaKadosh Baruch Hu like Moshe Rabbeinu and say, I'm nothing. I'm so nothing. The greater they... See, that's the problem. Sometimes, a person, the higher he gets, at some point he could start feeling, I'm the man. You know what I mean? And that's when he falls. But the greater the tzaddik, the more of an anav he is. And Rabbi Nachman of Breslov himself said, he says, I know the greatness of Am Yisrael. I know, he said, I'm one of the only ones that knows the true yakar, the true value of the Jewish people. And then he said because I know the lowliness of my own self. It's amazing how you could put that two in one sentence. It's like, in a certain sense, you have everything, but in a certain sense, you realize you have nothing. It's all from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's what it is. Lechem Oni. What do you mean Lechem Oni? It's the highest spiritual lights. I read all his pages about it. The Zohar talks about it. It's like the most powerful light when you eat matzah. It's Lechem Oni. Why? Because it's like, I'm an Oni. I'm giving myself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I have nothing of my own. I realize the biggest das that I know nothing. And what is that? Right? Shezeu bechinas hatzimtzum shel chachmat atah. This is bringing down the light of chachmat atah, of the lower level of wisdom. Shenikra dalis. That's called the dalit, which is low. Vezeu lechem oni, and that's what it means, lechem oni, bread of poverty. Shemazkir et ha'inuy shenit'anu b'mitzrayim. We recognize the impoverishment of our forefathers in Egypt. V'she'onin alav devarim harbe. That's one version of why it's called lechem oni, right? And the other meaning is she'onin alav devarim harbe. Oni is because that we say she'onin alav. We say many things on this matzah. That's one of the Rabbanim, who's I think Rabbi Ali Mansour. He said that's one of the powerful things of matzah. Why is it so infused with Emuna, like in the Zohar? Why does it say such a thing? You know why? You know why it's so infused? Because you sit there on a seder and you uncover the matzah and you're saying the whole magid. You're talking all these chazals and all these gemaras and all these amazing stories, and you're being mechazik each other's Emuna with all these words. And he says the matzah absorbs all these words that you're saying. And now when you pass it around, you're eating it. Now it goes inside of your neshama. So that's another reason. Lechem oni is she'onina love dvarim harbe, because you say a lot of things on it.
So it's compared to making a bracha on something, but you're making a lot of brachot on it?
Exactly. Not only brachot, dvar Torah, and that's brought down by Sud also. We learned last week that even when you say something like a dvar Torah, it has a tremendous power to uplift the food. To bring a safe or something to the table, it's big stuff. That's why by Hasidim, remember we were talking the whole avoda by the table, they would sing and, because it brings a tremendous kedusha, and that food that you eat, that influences you tremendously, So onin alav dvarim harbe, right? Ki ikar hitgalut hadat v'ha'ara shel Pesach, because the main revelation das, of knowledge, of that breakthrough, of that clarity that we have on Pesach. Shehu bechinat hatchalat hatshuva, which is actually, Reb Nosson says, is the aspect of the beginning of tshuva. It's as if we're starting tshuva. That's what Pesach symbolizes. Hurak bishvil zeh, is only for the purpose of this. That what? Kedei, in order, shal yideze yazkir atzmo et ha'inuy, that a person should recognize his own impoverishment, shenit'ane nafsho begalus, that how his soul has become impoverished, right? Hatavos shel Mitzrayim, right? The desires of Egypt, shehu hasitra achra, which is the other side of impurity, right? To think about one's impoverishment, right? To recognize, where have I fallen, right? A person realizes that he sees, where am I in life? No, we were saying that it's connected to lechem oni. So he's explaining that it can awaken a tremendous tshuva that a person starts to think. That's the beginning of tshuva. A person starts to look at himself and he's like, where am I? Not to chas v'shalom, not to become sad from that, because Reb Nosson and Rabbi Nachman hold that sadness and depression is the avi avot hatumah. That's mamash the lowest of the low. But to look at oneself in a real way and be like, hey, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to come close to Hashem. I want to change my life. I'm going to make some changes. That's how the ore of Emuna trickles into your day-to-day life. And the person starts making decisions. Lamashal. Like you tell a guy in the street, hey, to do hitzbodedut, to talk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for an hour a day, he'd be like, listen, Habibi, I'm very busy, It's not easy as it is already, the things that I have to do every day. You don't even know what I have to do. You want to throw in another hour, just talk to God. Come on. What do you think it's Gan Eden, So, that's one type of mentality. A person could let's say I would imagine, without a doubt, if you go up to Reb Nosson and let's say you gave him a job offer. That was a fantastic offer. But you would say, you know what? You can either have a job or mamish not have a job, but if you have the job, you can't do your hour hitzbodedut. In a second, he'd be like,
you can't do your what?
You can't do your hour, because Rabbi Nachman would say that you can't do your hour hitzbodedut, right? Your hour with talking to God. He'd be like, it's not a shayla. He looks at it like this. My life depends on this hour of talking to Hashem. You know what I mean? It depends where one's Emuna is. We learned like 3 weeks ago. That's how one's life is conducted, based on the Emuna we have. Emuna that we have is the vessel for the Bracha that we have in our life. How many people I know in Eretz Yisrael, that have told me that, I say, how do you support your family? Guys, they learn all day. I look at them like, how do you do it? What side business do you have? What's going on? And then they tell me that, you want to know honestly, it doesn't make sense how we do it. But it works out. It always works out. I'm telling you, countless times. It's unbelievable. There's such a thing that Emuna is the kli for bracha. A person could start, all of a sudden he gets inspired, let's say from Pesach, and he says to himself, you know what? Maybe instead of working 12 hours a day, maybe I could work 11 hours, and in that 1 hour I could do hitbodedut. I could talk to Hashem for an hour. Maybe. Because who knows, maybe he'll come to a level to be like, you know what, if Hashem really wanted to get me my Parnassa, he could still get me my Parnassa in 11 hours. That's all in Hashem's hands. What? I'm going to lose out because I'm talking to him. That's the Yitzhara. Rabbi Nachman says, beferish, from talking to him, you're creating vessels of Hashgacha in your life. Just like Hashem created the world through Dibur, so too when you speak to Hashem, you're also creating vessels to let Hashem's light come into your life. So you get inspired, you're like Matzah, Pesach. Pesach means, like the Ari says, the mouth that speaks. Pesach, I want to open the channel. Rabbi Nachman says the portal to connect to God is the mouth, is through the mouth, is from talking to Hashem. So a person gets inspired. He wants to utilize that light of Pesach. So he says, you know what? Instead of 12 hours, I'm going to do 11 hours work. I'll speak to Hashem. I'll try to do this advice of Rabbi Nachman. Maybe not 1 hour straight, but whatever. I'll break it up. So then maybe down the line he comes to a level and he starts getting more inspiration and he says, you know what? I need to learn a little bit. So you know what? I'm going to do 10 hours. And maybe I'll do 1 hour daf yomi every day. Or something, I'll go to Shiur. So now he has daf yomi, now he has it. How is that? How did he go from that, being the workaholic, to like a person that now has an hour and he has a shiur that he goes to? The only way the elokut, the godliness came into his heart was through this vehicle called Emuna. He started realizing, he started believing in the things in holiness that he does. He started realizing that this is so important. It's not like the way people make it out. It's a very chashuva thing to go to a shiur. So the person elevates. That's the whole tachlis of everything, right? And that's what the Matzah Reb Nosson is saying over here can accomplish for us. And through this inspiration that we have on Pesach, that can arouse us for this tshuva, Yaneh dvarim harbe l'Hashem. Right? That's one of the things of lechem oni. That onim alav dvarim harbe. So what does he say? So onim is that he's saying both. One, it's bread of poverty, because when you eat it, you realize you're like, what am I doing in my life? I got to come closer to Hashem, right? I got to shapen up, Like I just want God. I don't want to just like run around and do hevel and ta'avot of Mitzrayim. So then it says, then you get into the second shot of onim alav dvarim harbe, of saying. What does that mean, saying? Saying, like you start realizing, I got to talk to God. I got to do more hitzvah in my life, right? Yaneh dvarim harbe Hashem yitbarach v'yitzak. And you start to call out to God. Gadol, with a loud voice, Hashem yitbarach. Ad shirachameu, until Hashem has compassion on you. V'yikarveu la'abodot yitzbarach, right? We always say in Breslov that it's such a beneficial thing that a person can actually mamash, like start like, crying out to God. To really like mamish from the bottom of one's heart, to like go, if you're able to go into a place that there's no one around, it's a big bracha. You go in the middle of like nature somewhere that like no one can hear you, and just like pour out like your whole guts out to the master of the universe. It's so like therapeutic, like you can't even imagine. And what it does, it totally takes your Yetzer Hara and mamish like bashes it, because you walk away from that with such a light. And if you can't do that, the Rebbe says there's something called the small silent scream, that you can imagine yourself like you're screaming, right? You can imagine yourself like you're screaming, but no one can actually hear you. You're just sitting there. You're just like, like Moshe just did. You're just like, but you're not like, nothing's coming out. So he says like, right. So he says that that's also when it's done to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's tremendously beneficial for the soul.
So loud that nobody can hear you, right? That's it.
What?
So loud that nobody can hear you.
Right, wow. It's a powerful zach. Yud Daled. Let's do a little more. V'zeu hachiluk sheben chametz lematzah. This is the main difference between chametz and matzah. How? She'ikar lehavdil hu hacholei v'hapetach sheben chetz lehei. He says the main difference between chametz and matzah is that little opening between the chet and the hay. Right? It's the same letters. Chametz and matzah are the same letters. The only difference is the chet and the hay. It's that little space. That's the difference between chametz and matzah. You ever thought about that? It's amazing. Right? If you take the words of chametz, right? It's chet, mem, tzadik, and you take matzah. It's the same letters.
Just mixed around.
Yeah, just mixed around. It's the same letters. So we have the same letters, just in a different order. But what's the difference? The chet and the hay. There's like
the chet is closed and the hay is open.
Exactly. So he's saying the only difference between chametz and matzah is that little opening. So what's that little opening? Amazing. Hainu. What this means is like this. Listen to what Reb Nosson says. Ki ikar hachiluk v'hevdel shebein hakedusha lebein hasitra achra. He says you should know the main difference between holiness and the other side, the side of evil. He says hu rak kechuta sara. It's just a hair's breadth. It's not so different. See what that means? Bebechinat kepasa beini ubein hamavet hanemar bedavid. like it says by that there's a small gap between me, between where I'm holding, and between death. That was said by David HaMelech. Chainu, what does that mean? Ki ikar achizat hasitra achrihi makfirus upegam ha'emuna. The main blemish, right? The main way that the side of evil can have a grasp on an individual comes from kfira, comes from denying Hashem in some way and blemishing one's emuna, one's faith, one's belief. Ki hayetzer hara nikra kel acher kfirus. Because the Yetzer Hara is called in other Svarim, in the Svarim Kedoshim, as a foreign god, as an Avodah Zarah, as heresy. Kemuva. V'chol ha'kfiros, and you should know, where does kfira come from? Denying Hashem, right? Atheism, all these things. Nimshachin machmas ha'chachmas. It all comes from sophistication. Right, science and just with knowledge, and that's how the first Yetzer Hara started from that he was cunning. The snake, he came up to Adam, he says, you know what, I'll give you a plan. Yeah, Hashem said don't eat from the tree, but I'll tell you what, we know already, we understand Al Pi Kabbalah that if a person does a sin, right, he falls into like an area void of godliness. But if a person does tshuva, then you could be even on a higher madrega, right? Don't they say that about tshuva can be on a level that even a big tzaddik can't? Mm-hmm. So Adam was like, I hear you're saying good. So he's like, yeah, why don't we just eat from the tree and we'll do it l'shem shamayim. We'll do an avera l'shem shamayim. What do you say? And it was like amazing. It was like, psh, this guy knows what he's talking about. It was what? It was through chachmas. It was from sophistication. Do you know how many people that have barriers like coming close to Kadosh Baruch Hu, that it's because of chachmas that holds them back? Oh, but science says like this and this, that, and that's reality for them. The world of science, the world of physics, like that's the emes. Because that's what it's, Kadosh Baruch Hu can't make the world in a way that he can hide himself. This is a world of, Anochi Hester Aster, it says. Right, we just had Megillas Esther, that I'm hidden in the world. I can make it that I can be hidden. He could actually make it that actually people, if they want, it says that if a person wants to go in the wrong path, also Hashem would open it for him. He'll give him proofs. Yeah. Seems like Hashem doesn't exist. You know what I mean? But if a person searches, he's one of the fundamental ingredients in coming close to Hashem is not sophistication. Because a smarter guy could walk in through that door and he could try to disprove you. It's what's the difference between a Jew and the Sitra Achra? It's just Emuna. Lechemoni. I don't know anything. I just have faith. You could talk to the most sophisticated person. You could try to disprove you about God, and then you can be like, listen, it's 5 minutes to mincha. You know what I mean? Like, we need a minyan. You want to daven? That's the beauty of Am Yisrael. That we could go through no matter all these years. Omdim aleinu lachalotenu. How many nations they spit on us? They try to kill us. We hold strong. We walk into the gas chamber singing Ani Mamin. You know what a shtach that is? You know how much the Nazis tried to break Yimach Shemon, they tried to break Am Yisrael, but we just kept strong. A famous story, Mamash, like brings tears to one's eyes when you just like say it over. Like a famous thing. I said it once to you guys that there was a lady that was once they were lining up to walk into the gas chambers. So people held their clothing close to them. So this lady walks up to one of the guards, the woman guards, and says that, can I have a knife? Do you have a knife? You could ask shilas on this story anyway, but, so then the guard says yes, and because the guard was thinking that, hey, if I give this knife, I think she probably wants to commit suicide, So she agreed. She said, "Yeah, sure." And that would break the stamina, the emuna of the people that are standing around. Exactly. That would break more spirit of the Jewish people.
God figured that's what she's going to do.
Right. So she gave the knife, and this woman puts down this bundle, and there's a baby, a newborn baby, that didn't have bris milah yet. And she does Mila, and she closes the knife, she goes back to the guard, she said, thank you very much, and she holds the baby, and she walks into the gas chamber. Whoa! Can you imagine? Ani ma'amin. You have to know, what does that mean? What does that mean? We have to be strong, we have to have Emuna running through us. That's what Reb Nosson wants us to get. That's what the Rebbe is trying to get to us, that we're eating matzah, it's the night of Seder. It's the night of Seder, we want to put Seder in our lives. The whole world is out of order. Everyone, we're all like flying around from, one app to another, from one text to another, we're not settled. Nobody's settled anymore. You come to a guy, be like, yeah, talk to God an hour a day. Look at you like you're nuts. What are you talking about? Talk to God. Like, what do you got to talk about? What? You know what I mean? Like an hour. Pfft. Yeah, that's where we're holding. We have no Seder. We want Emuna. We want to start, there should be, if Reb Nosson didn't do his hour, his heart would start pounding. Like, I'm missing in my life. I'm missing the Shekhinah in my life. I'm missing Hashem. Where's Hashem? What's my life worth? It's nothing. It's garbage. It's death. You read Likutei Tefillos. You'll start bawling. It's like, he starts mamish like venting. He's like, where are we holding? We're all lost. We're drowning. Hashem. It's unbelievable. It's like a car wash. Like you're like, wow. Like he's really got it together. Because he's a holy beggar, right? He's a real ani. He realizes that I really need Hashem more than anything in the world. He doesn't walk in like, so let me tell you what the Gemara means, He's like somebody came out to Rabbeinu and he said how would I find Reb Nosson, because Rabbi Nachman was talking to somebody, a newcomer, about who Reb Nosson was. So he says, how do I find him? He says, how you find him? He's the type of guy that you could walk in the street, you could hold up like a quarter and you could be like, I'm really bummed out, like I want a bagel. Will somebody go buy me a bagel for me? And if some chassid runs up to you, he's like, sure, what kind of bagel do you want? He says, that's Reb Nosson. And it says in the story, he did that. He walked into the shuk and he held up like some sort of coin. He's like, does somebody want to buy me a bagel? And some chassid came over and he says, sure. He's like, what would you like? I'll get it for you. And he said, who, are you Reb Nosson? He says, yes. It's amazing. It's mamash like, He's an anav. He knew kol etzara kulo, but he was an anav, right? Because he looked at himself. Everything's Hashem. Everything's from Hakadosh Baruch Hu. What's me? Who am I? That's the nekuda of our greatness, is Emuna. It's not chachma. So he says that's where it comes from. That's the little gap between the hey and the chet, right? Kol akfiros nimshachin machmas hachachmas machmas shenidme la'adam, because a person seems to himself shekavar hu chacham. He already has it figured out. Right? V'ra'ui lo lahavin kol advarim. It's befitting for him to understand everything. V'shiyitortzu lo kol hakushiyot shekasher lo al Hashem Yisbarach. Right? All al tzaddik emet. But that everything should be answered. All of his questions that he has on Hashem and on the tzaddik, everything should be clear cut. But he can't live with a question. See, that's the problem, right? And because of his sophistication and his intellect, you deal with that. I deal with people sometimes like that, that they're so skeptical. And if something seems like a little bit of a question, forget it. Yeah, you see, like it's all from sophistication that's driving them into sin. It's crazy, Like patience, Habibi, come learn, with his answers to these things. It takes time. Sit by the water of the Torah. You'll figure things out. No, it's really foolishness, because if they spent time, you could figure things out. But it's all from what they think is sophistication. Rahman al-Itzlan, Hashem should save us. Kamo shekatav Rabbeinu, as the Heilige Rebbe writes, Sha'chochmos, that chochmas, right? Sophistication, mapilin ma'od es ha'adam. That can really drop a person down into the gutter. As it says, Chachmatech v'da'atech hi shovavatech, that it's because of your wisdom that is your downfall. V'al kain, therefore, Reb Nosson says, ha'ikar, the main thing is, especially on the night of Seder, hurak lahashlich sichlo legamri, to take my seichel, my sophistication, and to put it aside. Ve'lismoch, and to rely on what? Rak al emuna levad. To make that pillar of Emuna, that's when I'm being so mechan. It's not that I have it all together. I don't got nothing together, but I believe in Hashem. Me and Hashem, we're boys. Don't mess with that. You got nothing on that. You know what I'm saying? You could come with all this thing, but I love Hashem. Aval be'emet, but he says the truth is, Gam ha'emuna tzricha lachayot al yidei sechel. Right?
Right. Doesn't
It's interesting.
in order to.
Yeah, you have to feed Emuna. You need to give it Torah. Well, right? You gotta watch out, but you need to give it seichel somewhat, right? Umishahu chazak, right? But right, he throws that in like a last line. He says, but Emuna also needs seichel. It needs also to learn. You have to learn Emuna. That's what we're doing. What are we getting here tonight and doing? We're not learning Hilchas Pesach. There's so many halachas we could learn. We probably should, but Shem Yazor. But we're right. But we're getting here. We're getting it to learn. What are we learning? We're learning the wisdom of Emuna. That's what the Rebbe is teaching us. He's opening up the gates of Emuna. It's a seichel. We're realizing how foolish we could be. That's a chachma, but it's not chachmas. It's not just chasing the sophistication. It's vayadata hayom. I know vayadata hayom v'ashavota elavavecha. And right away, I want to bring it to my heart. I want it to impact here. It doesn't just stay here. It's not like a lecture in college. Like, oh, that's interesting. It's like mamish. I'm bringing because I want to change. I want to come closer to Hashem. I'm searching for Hashem. That's what this limud is about. Umishu chazak be'emuna akdosha, and somebody that is strong in his faith, in his emuna with Hashem. Kol ma shenitosef lo dat v'seichel, the more that he gains wisdom, the more nitchazka ha'emuna etzlo yoter, the more his emuna will grow with him. Beautiful. Bebechinas tachlis hayediah shelo nida. That the purpose of all knowledge is to realize that you don't know. So what does that mean? Like the Rebbe says. So the Rebbe says like this. It's a little confusing that to every level you are, you realize that there's a level that's lo nida, that's an unknown level, that I don't know. Like I know that I really don't know.
Right.
So you only know that you really don't know according to the level of what you know. But let's say the higher level of like another person, like let's say that he knows more.
So now I don't know something else.
Right. There's another level of unknown. Right. And the higher you go, and it's like as if someone, like you tell someone, I know that I mamish really don't know. And some guy tells you, like you think you know that you don't know. You don't even know what you don't know. You know what I mean? It's like, well, what's he saying? Now I mamish don't know. It's like, but it's like, that's what it is. Yeah, the more you go, like the greater you go in Torah, the more you're just like, wow, Hashem is infinite. You know what I mean? There could be a 6-year-old kid also saying like, wow, Hashem is infinite. It's also, but it's the more you grow, the more you realize, yeah, it's a different level of realizing the unknown, so to speak. Zeh bechinat matzah, and this is the aspect of matzah. Shehi behei, which is spelt with a hey. Sheyesh chalal ben hadalid v'hayud. There's an opening between two letters. A dalid and a little yud. The bottom of the hay, which looks like a little yud, and the dalid. Why? Ki hadalid hi bechinat emuna, because dalid symbolizes emuna. The letter dalid symbolizes impoverishment. Bechinas malchus shenikra ani. Right? That's called the ani. That's what emuna is. Realizing that it's all Hashem. Begin delate la migar meklum, to realize that it's not from me. I don't cause anything. It's all from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ki ein yodeh shum yediyah, that I mamish no dots whatsoever. Rak mishtokek la Hashem. I just yearn for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yisbarach be'emuna sheleima levad vetzarich lahachayot et emuna. But also you have to give chiyus to this emuna, to this dalid. How do you give chiyus to this dalid? Ulahamshich letocha das. Shu bechinas hayud. You also need the yud. She betoch dalid, right? Shal yada nasit hey. That it's through that little yud also that completes it, that makes it a hey. Ki hey dalit havat, because it's with this hey that this is how ki hey dalit have, because that's how the hey is made. V'itchazarat v'nasit hey. Kemo shekatav b'Zohar HaKadosh, umuva b'divrei Rabbeinu Zal. Again, Nachamol, ki hey dalit have, that the hey is created from the dalit, ve'it chazarat v'nasit hey, and it returns to become a hey. Kemo shekatav b'Zohar HaKadosh, kemo b'divrei Rabbeinu, ki hayud shebetoch hey bechinat chachma kiyadua, because the yud that's contained within the hey does symbolize wisdom, does symbolize chachma. Hainu bechinat hamshachat hachachma v'adat letoch ha'emuna, lachayot emuna. In order to draw, like what we were learning, to draw wisdom and knowledge into the emuna. Not a separate thing as Emuna, but in the Emuna, right? You have the Dalit, you have Emuna, but you bring Torah, you bring wisdom into the Emuna. And that makes it a hey. Aval tzorech lahaniach hachalal upetach ben adalet shu bechinat Emuna ubein hayud shehi bechinat hachachma. You still have to leave an opening between that yud that symbolizes wisdom and the dalid that symbolizes emuna. Why? Why do you need an opening? Lahorot she'afal pi shekavar zochel hamshich la'atzmo eize chachma v'das. That even though, this is in order to teach us that even though that I was zocha, that a person was zocha, to draw inside of himself a little bit wisdom. Shu bechinas hayud she betoch hey. That is the yud that's within the hay. But nevertheless, but nevertheless, I'm still holding on to what? To my simplicity. Still in his own eyes, he still looks at himself as he's impoverished. He doesn't attribute any of this wisdom to himself. Because he knows and he believes that I mamish don't know anything. Adarabah. Now you should know just the opposite. His emuna is even stronger than from the beginning. From his wisdom that he was learning. He understands how it's impossible from knowing everything about Hashem, from grasping HaKadosh Baruch Hu, how great Hashem is. And how much is important that we have to strengthen ourselves, every single one of us, about what Emuna is. But he doesn't close himself off. He doesn't close off this opening. The opening of Emuna, what he calls it, Reb Nosson. He doesn't close off that opening of Emuna. Chas v'shalom. Chametz. It's only the chametz that closes up this chet. Shapetach v'achol satum. It closes up that gap. That's what it means. Like making the mind like chametz. A chametz way of thinking, Reb Nosson says. Bechinat ki it chametz levavi, that my heart became chametzdik with the sophistication. All of a sudden, a person starts figuring things out. Now all of a sudden he's a wise man. Come to me with all the shilas, right? Then until he thinks he's the smartest person in the world, he's the one that has it figured it out. He has everything figured out. And now he doesn't even use Emuna at all. Emuna is like a petty, foolish thing. Blind faith, nebuch, You're just like all the other religions out there. That's the aspect of ches. That's people that are closed, that use their wisdom and it stuffs them up. Right? Shekavar nistam petach adalit. It closed up the dalit already. They don't think they're impoverished. What am I impoverished? I know it. I know everything. You know what? The chet. The chet closes up between the yud and the dalit. It closes up emuna. It's no more emuna anymore. He looks at people that have emuna like they're fools. That's closed now. That's it. The sophistication, it closed himself off from Hashem. He thinks that I got it all figured out. I got it all planned out. That's it. And then what Reb Nosson says, then unfortunately the chametz starts to come in the heart. Chas v'shalom. Gets the kfirus, you start to deny Hashem. I mean that's the extreme. But the klal is, to wrap it up, because it's getting late, the main difference between holiness and the side of evil is what? Hurak b'mashu azot. It's just a little bit. Just a little, And how do you make matzah into chametz? It's also just a little bit of time, right? Just let the dough rise. Just, keep it in the oven a little more. That's it.
Finish it.
That's it. It's got to be mamish under 18 minutes. Otherwise, forget about it. It's a mashahu, and the isur of chametz is b'mashahu. We know all these surim in the Torah. It's like with a kezayit. Like, a person, if he wants to, God forbid, if he transgresses Yom Kippur, if he eats, it's really midoraisa, you only violate if you eat, a certain amount, like a kezayit, a kotevet, But all of a sudden, Chametz on Pesach, it's the Isur is b'mashu, even a crumb. Where does mashu come from? The person is saying this is the mashu. Once you start letting the chachma starts to break away to your dalit, now you're not impoverished, you don't have any emuna anymore. Now it's chametz. The whole thing's chametz. Your whole thought process is chametz. So what can prevent us from having a chametz mentality to flipping that around and having a real amistika mentality, a matzah mentality, exactly, is just emuna, chevra. That's mamish the nakuda. Do you know, it's like Breslovers that I know, when they daven, they do a spodus. It's true, we could daven, we could do a spodus, and the whole day we could talk to Hashem about things that we need in our life. But then, at a certain point, a person might stop and he might be like, instead of just talking about my physical needs, Hashem, you know what I need? I need you, Hashem. I just want to be close to you. I just want to feel you in my life a little bit. When's the last time I pulled the brakes in a Shemona Esrei? For crying out loud. I'm always rushing. I'm always running around. When's the last time I held my tefillin and I said, you know what? This is a really great thing that I'm going to be doing right now. And I'm bringing a lot of nachas to you, Hashem. When's the last time I took a mitzvah and I cherished it? I held the matzah and I'm like, this is an unbelievable thing. What a schus I have to be able to eat this and let this light come into my body. Like a student of mine said, he's, a person sees from the outside, he says, it seems like Judaism's just like a bunch of laws. I said, you're right. When you look at it from the outside, when you look at it from fear of punishment, and this, that, if you got to do this, and you got to, what's going to happen to me if I don't do? But I said, there's a whole inner realm, and that's called Emuna. When you start coming close to Kadosh Baruch Hu, you start to feel the love and the need for attachment to Hashem, that you don't want to be separate from Hashem. And Bizman Hazeh, you know what? That's what's going to bring Am Yisrael back. Like as it says that there's so many different midot, but it says tzaddik be'emunato yichya. The tzaddik, he lives on Emuna, and the tzaddik, as we know, as in our chabura, as Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, that he gives over, is the main ingredient that we need, is Emuna in the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Nu may Hashem make us zocha that every single one of us should plant this inside of our lives, that we should be serious ma'aminim, and we should be zocher, that every single one of us, we should have like a matzah dika mentality. Not a